Welcome back to the Peggy Smedley Show, the podcasting voice of IoT and digital transformation.
Welcome back to the Peggy Smedley Show. We are coming to you live from CES 2020. I am here right now with Jeff Shiner. He is the Director of IoT and Authenta Security Solutions at Micron Technology. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Jeff, have you been all over the show floor so far?
Really not. I just really got here.
You just got here, so you haven't
do.
had a chance to see the insanity. Good for you.
No.
So,
I'm fresh.
Well, then you're fresh and relaxed. So we've been talking to some guests so far that are exhausted already. I said, well, you've got a long show if you're tired already. So let's talk about what you have going on.
Sure.
There's some exciting things. You've got Authenta you're going to talk to me about, because I really don't know a whole lot about what's going on there. So I'm excited for you to educate me a little bit about that. And Micron's always got new things going on. So let's start where you want to start. So tell me what's going on there.
Okay, I guess maybe first just a quick understanding of what
Update,
Authenta would be maybe helpful. So Micron is launching a new category of secure element into the industry. You know, the industry right now really needs what everybody is calling a hardware root of trust. In other words, things can't just be software. Everything gets hacked. It can't be firmware. Everything's getting
Things
rooted.
get hacked? That doesn't happen in this world,
a little bit. So, so we're trying to commoditize effectively the approach to the secure element by putting it into a device that is pervasive in the industry, flash memory. And that's also where code lives. So that's where you can protect, you can update, and you can really make a seamless, simple approach to market for customers who are trying to figure out how to add security to systems.
And when you think about that today, when we think about flash memory, we think about what customers are thinking about, how important is that become now when we think about IoT and what's evolving versus what it was, let's say, a decade ago?
I think it's actually pretty amazing the rapid pace of how many breaches or hacks or problems come about every day now. And so if you count them, it's just staggering. I don't know the exact pace, but I know when we go and we study, you can come up with a new slide deck of 10 or 12 just from a given month. And some of them are fairly severe. So the pace is just accelerated. And the whole concept of a 0 day, which is some attack that just wasn't foreseen, and it now opens up a new door, they're happening left and right. And so you have to have some fundamental security built in by design to offset these things. And so I think the timing's good. There's still a long road to go. So
let's talk a little bit about where we've seen, in general, the security risks in devices. One of the things we talk about is security continues to be a number one priority, I think, or we want it to be for all the companies that are here on this show floor. And we've seen that it's not been. I mean, unfortunately, but we have to make it a number one priority, but we've seen a lot of hacks.
I think what we've seen is nobody is willing to pay for security. In fact, just the opposite. All security does to companies is adds cost, complexity, and that is not something that the market is affording these companies any leeway so that they can go off and design for it. And when the whole concept of digital transformation came around, it was all about, transforming business models. So that means you have to make money on it. And so until security is tethered to identity and third-party services that you make money or save cost on, there's not really going to be a massive push forward on companies investing heavily. So you can attack it one of two ways, and we're trying to help on both.
So should we say, and I'm sure you won't say it, so I'll say it, was the idea for digital transformation, that push to bring products to market, maybe the cause of maybe some of these major hacks that we've seen, that we wanted to push things so quickly to market that we didn't do the right things first to make sure things were secure. We were so eager to bring all these really cool and awesome products, we didn't take the time to make sure they were secure first.
Absolutely. I think there's a race to lead in the market and to have a product that can differentiate. It's fun. Look at your car today. I mean, your car has all the bells and whistles you can ever imagine, but it's just getting locked down as they go. As they got to defend the brand, but at the same time, they got to build the brand. So it's kind of a balancing beam, I guess you could say. And a lot of companies have just raced forward, and they've chosen to go there. And you see hacks that happen, and it has a pretty big detriment to the brand name.
Are we saying that in the car world, safety became a really big priority? first, and now we've got some tricky things because now we want to stream so much things in there, and we're putting so many things, and as we continue to do that, we now open up the door a little bit to letting the bad guys in.
Right.
You know, but before, safety has always been a number one priority in the car industry. Not to say it's not now,
Right.
but the more we connect, the more we make ourselves vulnerable.
I think that the auto market is really in a push-pull, just in a similar way. I mean, they see the opportunity and the willingness for a consumer to pay top dollar for a car with a lot of features. And so they're really struggling to how can they accelerate and do the balance, because safety and security are hand in hand and they work together. You can't have safety without security.
How is this going to impact us when we think about what's happening now with the smart home, the smart connected home? We're bringing all of these products to market so quickly, and everyone's saying, well, they're very secure. Well, we know already a lot of these smart connected home products are not secure.
Right.
And we've seen, you know, and I've talked about this on the show, we have, you know, baby monitors that people are hacked, and we say, well, you know, people who bought them didn't do the right things when they brought them home, and, well, are we putting that onus on the homeowner, or should that on security have been done on the manufacturer who actually made that product?
Well, definitely not the homeowner, because there's no way, the OEMs right now are having a hard enough time understanding how to implement security. So the homeowner, you might have one or two savvy homeowners, but it's got to be built into every product. And you know, it's not even where it needs to be. It hadn't started the supply chain where it needs to start. And there has to be ownership by these OEMs that build it in very early in the process. And then the ownership change to the homeowner can happen in a very simple way. If there's some, set of credentials that needs to change hands. But the life cycle needs to be managed, and the homeowner does have a portion of that as a partial user of features, but they don't need to own the security or the burden of the security.
So let's go even deeper into a smart city. We are talking about connected smart cities or connected smart infrastructure. How is that all going to work where customers are looking at this, and now you're talking about flash memory? How is all of this going to play such a critical role in the future of what we're talking about?
I think that the smart city is growing right now. There's lots of gateways, and you know, we hear a lot about edge compute and the growth in edge compute. And with 5G, that's really going to accelerate a lot of these things, and the attach rate of so many devices. Devices are going to become software definable in much better ways. But the whole concept of that software definability that everybody wants so that they can save money as one of those sides, but add more capability, it's just gonna, almost like the car, give an incentive for people to use things, because they'll find the killer apps that'll drive, you know, some interesting use by a bike or a car, or fill up your gas tank a different way, or whatever it is, or charge your car. But the edge compute piece is such a critical piece of it. And securing that first, I know we're working with a partner, Nanolock is a good example, and we have basically become the bookends for the trust, where the keys are injected at wafer level, and the secure element now in flash memory for an industrial gateway. That's going to be the gateway on, say, a pole in a field that could be talking to smart grid, it could be talking to your smart meter, it could be talking to your car, you know, whatever is going on as it's driving down the road. So you're going to have industrial things connected to these, you're going to have consumer things connected to these, and they have to be secure. So we're just getting to where the network itself has a security management scheme behind it with the cloud service. And then how that works down into the consumer devices and how they talk to it can be assured that things are becoming more safe. But we're not there yet, and we're just starting. So
then we talk about them, what are the consequences of these unplanned or unsecure things that, let's say, in a smart city, you just described them. I mean, I can think of catastrophically what they are, but, you know, are we thinking about that?
Yes.
I hope so, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that it's obviously going to take time to deploy and go back and backward compatible, or make things backward capable of a security technology. And for the most part, you have to exchange products. You don't just go out and put a retrofit device into a router and it's going to be secure. You have to have a new router. So there is a major upgrade going on in the industry right now for a lot of things. And I think that's just fundamentally what's going to happen.
Are we talking then we have to have hardware, or are we saying is it because we're talking about the cloud side of things now? I mean, because that's what you said. You said the edge.
Right.
Talking about because everyone's talking about bringing things to the edge, but at some point then it's the cloud, especially when we talk about whether it's immediacy or not, or what are we talking, edge, cloud, at what point are we talking about these things?
Well, edge can be a lot of things.
Yeah, right.
So it's, there's an edge at the light pole in your city, there's an edge at your factory, there's an edge at your house, there's a lot of edges. And so, I mean, fundamentally, a lot of these routers are the same technology underlying them. And so there's a lot of work being done on all of those edge devices, and those are all important. Your home hub is an edge device, effectively. So the bottoms-up security by design in these is taking shape right now. And there is a lot of good going into these. That's a trusted boot process that goes into a trusted secure channel, and we'll connect that thing and register it with a network. The thing that I think is going to accelerate a lot of this is the fact that things are becoming more cost effective, like with what we're doing with Authenta, but others are doing as well, is the ability just for it to have kind of a zero touch look and feel, where it's almost a SKU management thing for OEMs, to where you don't really provision the entire device with all the software until a later point in time. And you need to be able to onboard it securely and then deliver it personalized for the customer. That takes cost out, and that accelerates these type of devices to the edge. And then some of those edge devices kind of look the same until they're deployed as a certain type of edge device.
When we look at that and we look at how they're being used, because a lot of these have to be customizable,
right,
when we think about those, as you just described, and the way they're working, are we talking about now that customers will be able to say, I've got a solution that I want to meet the needs of wherever I'm, because cities' needs are different, each city needs might be, and that's why you're talking about that, and that's that customizable need, specifically when we're talking about a city, bringing certain solutions to market?
Yes, that's, I think the software definability, there's some major changes going on right now, and I think a good example of this would be kind of the SIM market. If you look at the SIM market, what's going on, you used to have a SIM card, and then that went into a new form factor down on the board. There's a lot of cost associated with all of these things. Then now we have a thing called IUICC, where there's a late binding profile to have kind of a common approach to SIM. But still, there's even better versions that are emerging right now that, like soft SIM equivalents that can be hardened by silicon. And when those become software definable, you could look at some of these things as low-level firmware. And you can give a characteristic to a SIM model or another, like LoRa or something else, by that software definability. And you can upgrade it. You can harden it different ways over time by different new schemes that emerge. So you need a lot of flexibility around security as well. And so you have to have basically a security platform in hardware. Then you have to have some very simple APIs that can extract data to major points in time. And all of that's coming together in some ways, but it's really interesting how some of these technologies are emerging.
You described you're working with Nanolox in your partnership with them.
Yes.
Will more of those, and I talk about this a lot, that ecosystem, more partners like that need to emerge to make these things work in a more secure world?
Yes, and they are. There's a lot of work going on with both large industry and small right now, and that's actually probably one of the more impressive things to me. I know that Micron's heavily involved in consortiums and standard bodies, and so are a lot of our competitors and our partners. And so there's a lot of work being done together. Everybody wants to have a similar API structure if possible. There is some fragmentation going on there, but the simplest approaches are going to win. And the build it and they will come will be true, and those that get to market quickly and are functional will work and win too.
Are we seeing right now, though, that we'll see more solutions be a BiVertical market? Do you think that that'll emerge? And you've seen that because Micron's been able to work in very vertical industries successfully with specific industry partners.
Yes, there'll be probably, I could say both, but in general, those that will lead the industry will be vertical markets, and it's because security and identity and even how to profit off that is such a complex scheme that you have to build it into a vertical model and just hand it off to the customer. If you don't have enough partners working together to have that plug and play nature of the entire system, all the way back to the key management where those keys are provisioned to deployment and onward, customers are having a hard time taking all that in. So a solution has to be put on the table, and that will be vertically specific. That vertical implementation will probably broaden out into other industries.
What's the biggest changes Micron's seen lately that they're really focusing on?
I think one of the biggest changes of late is the fact that security, we've talked about security by design for a long time, and now you're seeing it like with Authenta, where wafer level trust starts with the semiconductor manufacturer. And so keys are being injected at wafer level instead of forcing the customer to figure that out on the factory floor. So what that means is you actually have the ability to have a true provenance and trust at a much, much earlier time. And with Flash, you now can have that going right into the supply chain so that you can lock things down in new ways, and you can protect code, and you can attest different ways in a much, much simpler way. And so that provenance turns into a remote provisioning strategy versus a local factory floor provisioning strategy that has a big man in the middle, an actual person that has to do work to get those things provisioned with keys or has some involvement. As all of that goes machine to machine, that's going to take out a major attack surface. That's also going to bring a much stronger system by design. And that is one of the biggest, I think, epiphanies right now that the industry is saying, yes, we do need that, and us and others are starting to help that emerge right now.
When you look at security long term, will there be some other changes down the road that you see that aren't happening yet? That's going to force companies' hands to really jump on board?
Yes, I think so. I think the simpler approaches are going to get rid of some existing business models. And there's a lot of overhead right now in security implementation. And so I think there's a good argument to be made that sometimes simpler is actually even stronger. And if you have the right coverage for the right attacks, and it's good enough and it's simple to implement, then it's better to have something in your system that's strong than have nothing in your system, first and foremost, or something that was so complex you're not sure you implemented it correctly. And so that means there's a lot of how things are provisioned will change. That means that even how audit maybe in the factory changes. You can save money in some of these areas.
What do you hope to see on the floor when you're here?
I guess I hope to see a lot of AI and a lot of intelligence at the edge, because Micron is really leading in the whole high speed, high endurance, quality of memory as it pertains to all this advanced compute out here. So these cars that can drive themselves and things that can, the drones, the cars, and all the heads up stuff that you have now is just amazing. So I really get into that.
We've advanced a lot, right?
Yeah.
To see where things are and to see the technology and what's happening. Is there anything that's really surprised you so far, or is mainly a lot of this saying it's been a natural evolution to where we've been?
I don't really think this year to me right now, and I haven't really walked a show other than coming over here. It doesn't feel too different. We've been talking about all these things, and I think the thing that I see is that it's coming together. I think it's going to be shocking to a lot of people that cars will actually be driving themselves very soon. And I know there'll probably be some hardships with that, but it's happening. And so just the reality of everything here is pretty amazing to me.
Is when we look at all of this and we kind of say the technology and where it's all advancing and the kind of movement that we're seeing, and we look at AI and machine learning, do you think our cars, our homes will really get to that point of where we want it to be? Because we're saying AI, I think, is like 1% that we're really using. When we look at the Internet of Things, we're still, manufacturers aren't even really doing industrial IoT the way we want them to. There's so much more room to grow. Do you think we still have so much more room to really push that envelope?
I do. I think there's other major trends that are emerging too. Really the whole cloud to edge compute capability that some of these cloud services have brought on. It's just starting to get to where they're secure enough and you can compute in both places as needed. 5G is going to fill in a lot of gaps.
Is 5G going to really push it faster, exponentially?
It's going to be a big factor. There's a lot of factors. There's having ample security, having things like 5G, having security by design starting to actually bubble up now. And you put them all together, and there's becoming enough trust to do some important jobs that are needed for autonomous driving and many other things, and even just fun toys. So trusted toys, I guess. So it's
wait till you
it's
see
really
some
evolving.
of the crazy toys out there. There's some crazy little connected cats, connected robots.
Kids
So
like
anything that you want out there, you might find on the show floor. So Jeff Shiner,
Thank you very much.
Director of IoT of Athenta Security Solutions at Micron Technology. Thank you so much. What's your URL so our listeners and viewers can follow more about what you're doing?
Sure. Right now, Micron.com, and you'll find under advanced products, you'll find an Athenta page as well. So you can read the latest articles and the latest partners that we're bringing on as that ecosystem evolves.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, that's all the time we have for today. I think we are out of all the shows today. We will be back tomorrow broadcasting from 11 to 1 Pacific. So make sure you tune in. In the meantime, I hope you'll tweet at us at ConnectedWMag. As always, this is the Peggy Smedley Show, the podcasting voice of IoT and digital transformation. And remember, with great technology comes great responsibility. Look forward to being here tomorrow live from CES 2020.